If you're preparing a provisional patent application on your own without the assistance of a patent attorney, it's important to understand what actually needs to be included. If your application leaves out important details, you may permanently lose your filing date for those aspects of your invention that are omitted, which can affect your ability to obtain meaningful patent protection. One of the biggest misconceptions about provisional patent applications is that they can be very short and simply describe the invention at a high level. In reality, a provisional patent application only establishes a filing date for what you actually disclose. In this video, I'll explain the universal principles that apply to virtually every provisional patent application. We'll discuss the primary goal of a provisional patent application, how comprehensive your disclosure should be, and the 4 parts of a well-drafted provisional application. We will also cover the forms you'll typically need to file and practical tips to help you prepare a stronger application. Let's get started. Before we discuss what goes into a provisional patent application, it's important to understand its primary purpose. A provisional patent application allows you to establish an early filing date for your invention. Unlike a non-provisional patent application, it is not examined by the USPTO and it does not itself mature into a patent. Instead, you generally have 1 year to file a corresponding non-provisional application that claims priority to your provisional application. But here's the most important takeaway from this entire video. A provisional patent application only establishes a filing date for what you actually disclose. There is no checklist that tells you exactly what technical content your provisional patent application must include. The exact content required will vary from application to application, but the goal is to prepare an application that's comprehensive enough to support the claims you'll eventually file in your non-provisional patent application. If your provisional application only describes the invention at a very high level, but your later non-provisional application relies on implementation details that weren't disclosed in the provisional application, your application may not receive the benefit of your earlier filing date. One question I hear all the time is, how much detail is enough? As a general rule, the more complete your disclosure is, the better. While the specific content of your application will vary based on the nature of the invention and technology involved, your objective should be to describe the invention as thoroughly as reasonably possible. Don't simply explain what the invention does. Explain how it works. Describe the components. Describe how those components interact. Explain relevant processes, operations, or implementation details that make the invention work. If there are multiple ways of implementing the invention, describe those alternative embodiments as well. The more implementation details you include, the stronger your priority date is likely to be. Although the Patent Office doesn't require provisional applications to follow any particular format, I strongly recommend organizing your application similarly to a non-provisional patent application. Doing so makes it much easier to prepare your later non-provisional application while also helping ensure that your provisional disclosure adequately supports your future patent claims. Let's walk through the 4 primary parts. Part 1. The specification. The specification is the written description of your invention. This is the most important and usually the most time-consuming part of the application. A well-written specification at least includes the following sections: background, summary of the invention, and detailed description. The background section typically explains the current state of the technology and identifies problems, shortcomings, or limitations of existing approaches that your invention seeks to address. This section helps provide context for why your invention was developed and the problems it solves. The summary provides a high-level overview of the invention and briefly introduces the concepts that distinguish it from existing technology. Think of it as a roadmap that introduces the invention and highlights why the invention is novel before the reader gets into the more granular implementation details. The detailed description is typically the longest section. This is where you drill down on the implementation details of your invention. The exact content will vary depending on the type of technology involved. For example, a mechanical invention often focuses on physical components. Software inventions often focus on system architecture and algorithms. Electronic inventions may focus on both hardware and software components of a device. Regardless of the technology, your goal is the same. Describe the novel aspects of your invention in as much detail as reasonably possible. One practical tip: avoid describing your invention only in functional terms. Don't simply say what the invention does. Explain how it accomplishes those functions. That additional level of detail can make a tremendous difference later when the application is examined. If you want to align your specification structure directly with the structure of a non-provisional application, you can also consider including field of invention and brief description of drawings sections. The field of invention is usually just 1 or 2 sentences that describe the technology area associated with your invention, and the brief description of drawings is a section that provides a concise, 1-sentence description of each figure. The more comprehensive description of the drawings belongs in the detailed description section, not the brief description of drawings section. Part 2. Drawings. The second major part of a strong provisional patent application is the drawings. Although drawings aren't required for every invention, most well-prepared provisional applications include them. They may include flowcharts, block diagrams, or illustrations of physical products. Good drawings often make complicated concepts much easier to understand and help support the written description. As mentioned previously, the detailed description section of your application should describe each of the drawings included in your application. Part 3. Claims. The third part is one that surprises many inventors. Technically, claims are not required in a provisional patent application. Because provisional applications aren't examined, many people simply leave them out. Personally, I think that's usually a mistake. Drafting claims often helps identify gaps in your disclosure. In fact, many patent attorneys begin by drafting the claims first and then work backwards. While the USPTO won't object if you omit them, including at least a preliminary claim set often results in a stronger overall application. Finally, you may also include an abstract. An abstract isn't particularly important for a provisional patent application, but including one generally doesn't hurt. If you decide to include an abstract, it should be limited to 150 words or less and should provide a concise summary of the invention. In addition to the patent application itself, you'll also need to file certain forms. The most important of these is the application data sheet, often called the ADS. The exact forms you'll need can vary depending on your particular filing. I've created a separate video that walks you through the required forms and demonstrates exactly how to file your provisional patent application using the USPTO Patent Center. I'll include a link to that video in the description below. To summarize, the single most important principle to remember is this: your provisional patent application only establishes a filing date for what you actually disclose. The more thoroughly you describe your invention, including implementation details, alternative embodiments, drawings, and supporting information, the stronger your provisional application is likely to be. If you're still preparing your provisional patent application and would like help organizing and drafting it, consider trying the AI patent drafting platform offered by Idea to Patent. Our platform was specifically designed for inventors, entrepreneurs, and startups with no legal or patent drafting experience. You simply describe your invention in your own words, and our AI-guided step-by-step workflow helps you prepare a more comprehensive provisional patent application. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what patent topic you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.